Greetings all. So the first half of this week, we're going to take a look at fonts for our package. And the first thing that I want you to take a look at is an infographic that has some information on fonts. So we're going to be looking at primary fonts, secondary fonts, and tertiary fonts. So really, you can look at these as 1, 2, 3. That's what these words are standing for. So your primary font is the one that's going to be most ornate or special to your brand and to your product. This one is the one that the consumer is hopefully going to see when they walk by. It's probably going to be attention getting. It's going to have the feel, the look and feel of how you want the consumer to think about your product. Your secondary font, you're probably going to spend some time editing your secondary font. It might be, I'll say, on the special side. When we get to our tertiary font is not going to have any special characteristics. It's a simple, maybe Times New Roman, Arial. It is that general information that needs to be on the product. Okay? When we're talking about your primary font, and this is one of the fonts that we're going to spend some time working on today. When we're talking about your primary font, you want to make sure that your primary font is appealing to your audience. So you want to think about their age, their personality, their language, their gender, their culture, what type of personality they might have. So if you're, and this is not to offend anyone, it's hard to think of products that are usually aimed just towards the aging that teenagers might not use. So I do use the example of a hearing aid, and I do realize that we do have some days, I'm pretty sure I might have some hearing issues starting, and I do understand that we have students that have hearing issues. So this isn't to target anyone by any means. But if we are advertising and we are selling hearing aids, our primary audience is probably in that 60 plus category. You know, they may not be looking for that flashy font, okay? And plus, they are looking for something that is probably more of a need, not a want at that point in time, okay? And I compare that to fruit snacks, okay? Comparing that to fruit snacks, which, again, we're now probably targeting our, I'll say, 8-year-old population, give or take. And I know some teenagers still love to eat fruit snacks every once in a while, not going to lie. I like to get my hands on a pack of fruit snacks as well. But when we think about the target age of that, we are probably looking at more flashy colors, trying to get the attention on maybe the TV screen or, you know, the personal device screen, the grocery store shelves, like, hey, Mom, buy this, please. So then we also have to think about the shape that we are going to be looking at. You know, we're going to have different shapes that we might need our name to fit in or not fit in. We do need to think about the size. If you have a very ornate or very specialized font and you're trying to make it relatively small, it can be hard to read. It can be hard to read. So when we think about the size, now this does depend on the actual size of your package itself, but you can see your primary is usually going to be, well, actually even almost probably like 5 to 6 times bigger than your secondary. And then your secondary is usually going to be at least twice, if not bigger, than your secondary. So we do have that hierarchy in terms of size. When we're working with fonts, we do want to think about how we're laying them out in terms of alignment. So you will want to have some consistency in your alignment. So are you aligning everything to the left, everything to the right? Are you doing everything center aligned? This does not list justified, but justified is an option as well that we will talk about. And the way you have your fonts aligned may change throughout your design, but for that specific area, you know, your ingredients are probably all going to be left aligned, but then your title might be center aligned. There can be some variation there, okay? So this infographic just has some good information. So when we talk about the personality of the font that you're going to choose for that primary, you should be able to easily read that font at the size you're going to have it on your product at least 3 feet away, because you want the consumer, and I'm not saying that we all have to have food products, but think about the grocery store aisle, coming down the grocery store aisle, and you're looking, if you're in that middle of the aisle, you can easily see the product happening. So what we're going to do to start out today's assignment, so this is an example that I started over the weekend, is I want you to find 3 products, and your 3 products, and I actually have them labeled, I believe, on your slideshow. You are going to find a food product, you are going to find a cleaner, a hygiene, a beauty product, and then an electronic product. So 3 different products, and then we are going to take a look at the fonts that are on those, the fonts that are on those, the text that's being used. So I'm going to pause, and I'm going to ask you to find 3 graphics in certain categories, 1 for food, 1 for cleaner, hygiene, beauty products, 1 for something in the electronic field. Do pick ones that you think are appealing. Pick ones that we can definitely see text on, and then we are going to talk in more detail about the text, and you're going to do some labeling on these. Okay? Go ahead and find those objects. All right, so I know some of you are still looking for your images, and I know that some of you have them. So what you're going to be doing now is you are going to be taking a look at the fonts, and you're going to be labeling the primary font, the secondary font, and the tertiary font. Now, there are times that there could be multiple secondary fonts, whether they're the same font or whether they're different fonts. So here, I believe these are the same fonts, but those are both secondary fonts. Down here where I have my ingredients and my calories, I have my tertiary, and then the actual nerds is my primary. I was just getting ready to start on my OxyClean. So first I used my line tool to draw my line. Then I'm using my text box to labels. If you very, very much dislike typing, you could always copy and paste the names and then drag them to where they need to go. That choice would be yours. But I would like you to label them on your products. Go ahead and get started. All right, so once you have finished labeling your fonts, labeling the type as your primary, secondary, and tertiary, we are going to dig a little deeper into fonts. So when we're in Photo P, we're going to make a new project, and that new project, we're going to be working in inches, and we're going to go 5 by 5 inches, just with a white background. And at this point, you should know the name of your product, okay? Now, I should have a better name besides sunscreen, although Mrs. Martin did not think about what her name was going to be for her product. And maybe you haven't either, so this is actually a good time for you to start thinking about that. But maybe you have a vision of what you want that word to look like. Now, inside of Photo P, you do have some font options, okay? Some of them are good, some of them maybe not so good. But I do want to show you a website that, well, can be a little overwhelming on the fun side. 1001fonts.com. Go ahead and Google that. There's also a link inside a classroom that you can click on to directly go to 101fonts.com. All right, so 1001fonts.com. Pretty awesome website. Can be overwhelming. So we have font categories. So this might help you narrow some things down all around. So, maybe you know that you wanted a cute font, a grunge font, a 3D font, a comic font. Maybe you know that you want a vintage font. Maybe you know you want a cursive. Maybe you know you want a feminine font. Maybe you wanted something ugly, brush, graffiti, a Wild West theme. Okay, we have lots of options here. When you click on those, and the last word I was working on fonts for was the word sports. So this is where it would be ideal if I knew the name of my sunscreen. I really need to come up with that. But I went ahead and just typed sunscreen in there. And I can see what it looks like in different fonts. Now, mind you, I pared mine down to just feminine font, and I have 53 pages of fonts to look through. 53 pages. All right, there are so many fonts on this page, it's unbelievable. I could also say, okay, now just give me a script font that you think is feminine. And I want it to look something that is handwritten. So now you can see, I've narrowed it down to a whopping 36. So it can be very overwhelming. So you need to have an idea of what you want. Now, I'm 99% sure my students in class, you should be able to download them. I may need to put a password in for you to do that, for you to actually install the font. Those of you working on your Chromebook, I'm 99% sure you can download these without a problem as well and install them. So I'm just going to pick a font here real quick and walk you through the process. I'm just going to pick this script. So when I download it, and let me change my capture window here for a second, you can see right here, it downloaded it. It's that zip file. So that's like what our packaging came in the other week. Again, you can probably extract it right in your downloads. I need to copy mine and actually put it in my fonts folder. Otherwise, I got way too much stuff going on. So I'm going to paste that. I'm going to extract it. And then on a PC, and it's very similar on the Mac, in your Chromebook, it's similar as well. I'm going to go ahead and install these fonts. So this is Scriptin. And now when I go back and I'm working in Photokey, I should be able just saw it. So right here is my font that I picked. And there it is. So what I want you to do for this assignment, now this assignment is going to, let me pull this back up so you can see. This assignment is going to extend through the 5th. So you have the rest of today in class, tomorrow in class, and Wednesday, your remote work day. But you are coming up with 3 different concepts of what your title, your name of your product is going to look like on your product, okay? So your background might look different on each one. Your fonts are going to look different, the size, the color, the arrangement of the letters. And I really do want the concepts to vary, okay? If you put it on a dark background to start with, maybe the next one's on a light background. And I want you to think about different fonts and trying different fonts. Even though I'm using a script font, there's a lot of script fonts out there, okay? And then we will talk about good concepts, bad concepts, and how we want to edit our concepts. And I'll give you a few pointers each day. I want to give you this 15 minutes that we have left in class today to get started on the activity, brainstorm some prior to coming to class tomorrow, and then we'll give some more, so there will be some instruction tomorrow as well, okay? Go ahead and get started. Oh, and of course, you do need to put a screenshot then of each of your ideas under the appropriate dates. Go ahead.